imagine waking up, checking your phone, and realizing your entire livelihood is just gone.
Right. Overnight.
Yeah, overnight. A fitness empire you built over 10 years with, over 1.2 million dedicated followers, completely wiped off the map.
And I think what's crucial here is that it's not because you posted hate speech. It's not because you stole someone's copyrighted music or committed a crime, but because an algorithm essentially scanned your physical body and decided you were a liability.
Exactly. Which brings us to the very real, very visceral reality of April 2026. We are currently witnessing this unprecedented AI-driven wave of sudden demonizations across major video platforms. It's hitting massive, established creators without warning.
Yeah, and we're seeing it specifically in the fitness, family vlog, and mukbang spaces, right?
We are. Take Mighty Body Make, that fitness channel we just alluded to. 1.24 million subscribers just completely demonetized and forced into an indefinite hiatus.
Wow.
Why? Because the platform's new biometric AI algorithms estimated her BMI at 16.8, flagged her content under a new extreme weight loss public health directive, and just boom, shut off a revenue pipeline.
Or, look at the family channel side of things. 2-month dad, which is a single father documenting his life raising his baby. Overnight, he was penalized and functionally shadow banned under COPPA guidelines, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act.
Right, the AI flagged him?
Yeah, it flagged his daily vlogs for bringing, quote, unwanted attention to minors. Just like that, a community he spent literally years building was dissolved and his income vanished. The whole digital ecosystem is in absolute shock right now.
Which is exactly what we need to unpack today. The core question is, does this massive enforcement wave represent a necessary, rational, metabolic reset toward a sustainable, circular digital ecosystem?
Or is this a ruthless, completely hypocritical purge of the very human resources that built the platform's absolute dominance in the first place? I'll be arguing the latter. What I am seeing is a cold-blooded evasion of responsibility.
And I'll be taking the former position. Because when I look at this landscape, I don't see a tragedy. I see a required evolution. The platform simply must cut off creators who generate unsustainable physical and social entropy to survive.
I guess my view is that this is a system that extracted the lifeblood of its creators to build an empire, only to discard them under a highly sanitized guise of moral progress.
Well, let's start by looking at the underlying mechanics of this shift. Because frankly, we have to strip away the emotional veneer and look at physical resource management. The old model of the internet, the one we've lived in for the past 15 years, was built on linear capitalism.
You mean the burn and churn model?
Exactly. It relied on endlessly burning through human resources to generate the friction required for views. You extract, you burn, you discard. But that model has reached its mathematical limit. The platform isn't suddenly developing a conscience, It is reacting to social repair costs.
Wait, what do you mean by social repair costs exactly?
I mean the literal, financial, and regulatory negative externalities. Government fines for public health impacts, brand damage from advertisers who outright refuse to be associated with eating disorders, the absolute regulatory nightmare of child privacy laws in the EU and the US.
Right. The legal pressure is immense.
It is. Those external costs now vastly outweigh the ad revenue these specific creators bring in. Think of the platform like a landlord managing a massive apartment building.
Okay, a landlord.
Right. So you might have a tenant who pays their rent perfectly on time, every single month. In the platform's case, that's a creator generating millions of views. But if that tenant is spending their days taking a hammer to the building's load-bearing walls and drawing endless noise complaints from the neighborhood,
the landlord is going to evict them.
Immediately, yes. It's not about cosmic justice, it's about preventing the rapid depreciation of the asset.
I mean, I hear the logic in that spreadsheet. I acknowledge the landlord analogy, sure, if you strictly look at this in a vacuum, but I'd argue that analogy completely ignores the power asymmetry and the historical complicity of the platform itself.
How so?
Well, the platform wasn't just a passive landlord who suddenly discovered these creators smashing the walls with a hammer. For the last decade, the platform actively incentivized, profited from, and algorithmically rewarded that exact destructive behavior.
I'd say they rewarded engagement. I wouldn't go so far as to say they rewarded destruction.
But engagement and destruction were practically synonymous in the early algorithms. I mean, if you didn't smash the walls, you didn't get recommended. The algorithm craved extreme behavior because extreme behavior keeps eyes on the screen.
It creates friction, yes.
Right. So a more accurate analogy isn't a passive landlord, it's a mafia boss.
A mafia boss?
Hear me out. Imagine a mafia boss who spent years having his loyal underlings do incredibly dirty, lucrative, violent work to build up his syndicate. He built his mansions with their sweat. Then suddenly, the heat comes down from the feds, and the boss decides he wants to go legitimate.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, he starts donating to the local church, and he excommunicates all his old, loyal underlings for bad behavior just to clean up his own image. It's an act of supreme hypocrisy, masked as public safety.
I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective on what you're calling dirty work. When we transition from the platform's internal motives to the actual physical toll on society, we have to talk about systemic entropy.
Okay, let's talk about the physical toll.
This isn't just about controversial videos. It's about the generation of profound societal waste. Look at the specific genres being targeted by this AI sweep. Mukbangs literally turn food into biological waste and public health crises. Extreme fitness channels deplete the biological foundations of both the creator and the millions of viewers who mimic their behavior.
But again, whose algorithm put those videos on the trending page?
It doesn't matter whose algorithm started it, ultimately. What matters is that the ecosystem is currently dying from it, and the platform must stop it. Let me offer a different analogy. It is exactly like an all-you-can-eat buffet abruptly banning a flashy customer who wastes heaps of food just to entertain a crowd at his table.
The spectacle of it all.
Right, exactly. In the past, the restaurant tolerated the waste because the spectacle drew people in off the street. It was a novelty. But now the novelty is worn off, and the restaurant has installed AI waste detectors.
Waste detectors, right?
The cold, hard math shows that the cleaning costs, the wasted inventory, and the loss of regular patrons who are disgusted by the mess far exceed the entrance fee that flashy customer paid. The platform is just the buffet realizing it's going bankrupt on cleaning bills.
That's a compelling argument, but I have a real problem with the premise. Have you considered what we are actually reducing to buffet food here? We are talking about human beings.
Well, we're talking about content generation.
But I have to push back hard on this framing of creators as mere variables of entropy or inventory. Ask yourself what the creators were actually spending all these years to keep that buffet running. It wasn't just disposable content. They were forced into a model where they had to sell off their own physical bodies. They had to sell their family's privacy.
Forced is a very strong word. Nobody forced the 2-month dad to pick up a camera and film his infant.
They weren't held at gunpoint, no, but the mechanics of the platform engineer compliance. Let's look at parasocial intimacy for a second. Why does a single father vlog his child's life? Because the algorithm demands a constant, daily stream of highly personal emotional friction to maintain reach.
It rewards consistency, certainly.
If he stops uploading, his channel dies. If he tries to pivot to generic, non-personal content, his metrics plummet. The fitness creator driving her BMI down to 16.8 didn't just wake up and decide to self-destruct. She was responding to a machine that rewarded extreme physical transformation with financial survival. Every time she lost a pound, her views spiked.
And every time her views spiked, she made money.
Yes, every time her views spiked, her rent was paid. The platform didn't just tolerate this biological depletion, it engineered the demand for it. And now we're supposed to applaud the platform for acting like a responsible buffet manager?
I'm not asking for applause for the platform. I am merely pointing out the mechanics of survival. And honestly, that brings us directly to the human reaction we are seeing right now, which actually proves the economic reality of what these creators were doing.
What do you mean the public reaction?
Yeah, over the past few weeks, if you look at the discourse on Platform X, there is a massive wave of public backlash mocking these demonetized creators. The moment the monetization was shut off, channels like Mighty Body Make went on hiatus.
Right.
And the public is responding by saying, you know, I thought you did this because you loved it. The moment the money stops, you quit.
People are treating the creators as if they are greedy or disingenuous.
Which is incredibly cynical.
It is cynical, but it also reveals how the theory of circular capitalism functions. In this digital ecosystem, passion is just the lubrication. Revenue is the electricity.
Okay, I follow you.
If we look at this through a chef analogy, imagine standing outside a restaurant and mocking a chef who always claimed, "I love making food," just because he immediately closes his doors after the city shuts off his gas and water.
Well, you can't cook without heat.
Exactly. Without fuel, you cannot cook, you can't pay your sous chefs, you can't buy ingredients. The public mockery is totally misplaced. These creators are acting highly rationally by refusing to engage in slow suicide by bleeding their own capital for zero return.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that defense of the ecosystem. Let me tell you why. I completely agree with your chef analogy. You absolutely cannot cook without gas and water. But let's turn that analogy toward the platform's role in establishing this dynamic in the first place.
Okay, how so?
The whole do it for love narrative, this idea of the passionate creator who's just so grateful to share their life with the world, was a deliberate religion manufactured by the platform itself.
Manufactured how? I mean, people intrinsically want to share their lives.
Sure.
The desire to share is fundamentally human, but the platform codified it into a corporate ethos to artificially lower the purchasing price of these creators' lives and labor.
Lower the purchasing price?
Think about it.
If you convince the public and the creators themselves that making videos is a passion project, you don't have to provide health insurance, you don't have to provide stability, severance, or retirement. And you certainly don't have to pay them a fair wage for the profound physical and psychological toll it takes on them.
So you're saying it's an exploitation model, 100%. The platform is treating these human beings like disposable batteries. The system plugs them in, drains them, and then swaps them out the second they leak, meaning they cause a controversy or draw regulatory heat, or the second they lose voltage and violate these newly stringent AI rules. They squeezed all the charge out of the do-it-for-love battery, and now they are tossing it in the recycling bin without a second thought.
That's an interesting point, though I would definitely frame it differently. I don't think they are just casually tossing batteries into a bin, because that implies a lack of direction or strategy. I think we are witnessing the endgame of how digital platforms mature.
Mature or sanitized?
Well, if they are swapping out these batteries, we have to ask, where does this leave the future of the digital ecosystem? Some critics are arguing that by purging these massive channels, the platform is dying. But it's not. It is executing a required metabolic reset.
A reset that conveniently wipes out their highest earners.
Exactly. And let's look at the data behind why that makes sense. Veteran creators over time become incredibly expensive for the platform. They become stagnant. They demand high CPMs, which for our listeners is the cost per mil, or the amount advertisers pay per 1,000 views.
Right.
Established creators have massive entrenched audiences, meaning they command premium ad rates. From a systems perspective, these veterans act like clogged arteries in the platform's flow of attention.
So let me get this straight. Because they are successful, they are a liability?
Yes, mathematically. Think of it like a failing old coffee shop, packed with 10-year regular customers.
Okay.
These regulars are deeply loyal, sure, but they nurse one single cup of coffee for 5 hours. They complain about the seating, and they take up all the space so no one else can come in. What does a smart owner do to survive when the rent goes up?
I imagine they don't want to alienate their base.
They don't personally go table to table and kick people out. They turn up the music, they change the menu, they intentionally create a hostile environment for the stagnant regulars to push them out.
Which heavily favors the veterans. They tweak the dial to reward rapid-fire, low-cost burst engagement from new users. They specifically make room for fast-moving, trendy, highly profitable new customers who will pay premium prices and leave quickly. It's a metabolic flush to save the host body.
But a metabolic flush is just a sterile biological euphemism for what is essentially corporate gentrification.
Corporate gentrification?
Yes, this isn't a natural bodily function. It is a calculated, ruthless evasion of legacy debts. The platform isn't just turning up the music in a coffee shop to get some fresh air. They are aggressively kicking out the rowdy neo-rich who built the neighborhood from scratch, specifically so they can remodel the platform into a quiet, heavily policed, members-only club for wealthy corporate advertisers.
Well, you need wealthy corporate advertisers to keep the servers running.
Yes, you do. But you have to look at the historical trajectory of how those servers got funded in the first place. This is a massive trillion-dollar organization systematically firing all the independent subcontractors who did the messy, chaotic, boundary-pushing work that made the platform a cultural monolith.
They outgrew them.
Exactly. When the platform was young, it needed that friction to grow. Now that they had absolute market dominance, they are coldly changing their signboard to appear entirely clean, sterile, and brand safe. They want legacy television ad dollars, and they know you can't get television ad dollars when your top creators are starving themselves or exploiting their kids for views. But instead of taking responsibility for fostering that environment for a decade, they are just gentrifying the digital neighborhood and leaving the original residents functionally homeless.
I appreciate the empathy in your position. I really do. But empathy doesn't alter physics. And the physics of the internet are definitively changing.
Physics dictated by an algorithm.
Yes, but governed by real-world constraints. To summarize the framework I've laid out today, the age of linear, extractive capitalism on the internet is simply over. It is physically and financially impossible to sustain. You cannot continue to extract endless growth from finite human biology. The platform's cold equations are ultimately forcing a transition toward a sustainable model. A model that absolutely refuses to subsidize public health deficits. Whether we are talking about the severe eating disorders modeled in fitness communities, the massive food waste in mukbangs, or the profound privacy violations of minors and family vlogs, the societal cost has exceeded the platform's tolerance.
Right.
The landlords are evicting the destructive tenants. The buffet is banning the wasteful eaters, and the coffee shop is turning over its tables. It is not an act of malice. It is an evolutionary necessity, driven entirely by the mathematical limits of human resource extraction.
And to summarize my counterposition, I would argue that if you truly want to understand the truth of this evolution, you don't look to the sanitized language of sustainability or metabolic resets. You follow the physics, sure, but more importantly, you follow the money.
Okay, follow the money.
This platform is exactly like a taxi company that ran illegal, heavily modified street racing cars for 10 years to gather a massive, addicted customer base. They cheered on the drivers who took the biggest risks. They paid them bonuses for driving dangerously because it brought in massive fares.
But eventually, the law catches up.
Exactly. The very moment the police start cracking down, the moment the government threatens to revoke their operating license, the company puts out a slick press release declaring safety first. They fire all their veteran drivers overnight, claim they were let go for poor maintenance, and immediately buy a fleet of low-risk, sterile electric vehicles driven by rookies who will never question the rules or demand a higher cut.
That is quite the analogy.
It is survival, yes, but it is achieved through a profound structural betrayal.
I think if there is one stark reality we both converge on today, despite our very different framing, it's that the platform is acting purely on a mathematical survival instinct, not from a place of moral superiority. The illusion of a symbiotic partnership between platform and creator, the idea that they were in this together as a family, is officially dead.
Completely dead. The curtain has been pulled back, the wizard is gone, and the machinery of the algorithm is entirely exposed for what it is.
Which leaves us with a critical question for everyone listening. As these platforms execute their metabolic resets and gentrify their digital neighborhoods, we really have to reflect on our own relationship with them. How do we, as an audience, consume these human resources?
That's the real question.
Do we click on the extreme content, demanding the friction that breaks the foundation? Or do we support a more sustainable architecture, even if it's less spectacular? We'll leave it up to you to decide which perspective holds more weight.
Exactly. We calculate the load-bearing capacity of the internet every time we log on, but we have to remember what the pillars are actually made of.
Until next time.